In this video, we're going to continue coding out our homepage. So in the last video, we started coding out our homepage. We got a little bit done, but not as much as I had wanted to. Right now, I only have about an hour today, so let's see how far we can get in the homepage. Okay guys, so first let's go ahead and open the terminal and start up the server so we can see where we left off in the last video. Change directory into desktop and into our folder, and we're going to run bundle exec jekyll serve with the two flags I told you earlier, watch and base URL, and I've forgotten this, I think, space 2 quotation marks. See if it works. Alright, it says the server's running. Let's copy this address, open Chrome, and head on over. Okay, so this is where we got to so far. It's not too bad. We don't have any navigation yet, and it's literally just 650 pixels of a background image and a couple words. So let's go ahead and open this in our text editor. I'm using Atom. Okay, so over in our index.html, this is what we got going right here, our header and overlay. This is all the text we have, and this is the blurb. Well, I know this is the avatar that takes you to the blurb that we will be adding later on down here. So right now, let's go ahead and add the CSS for the avatar. We're gonna go to SAS and index. Then down here, let's go ahead and put what we call it, home avatar. So I know from the design, it's going to be 100 pixels tall and 100 pixels wide. So let's go ahead and give it some height. And width. It's going to be circle, so we're going to do border radius 100%. And let's set the background image. Let's see where we got it. Right here, okay. Alright, let's take a look at it real quick. Refresh. Whoops. Okay, right here's the picture. Okay, so I know we're going to have to go ahead and bring this forward so it's not behind that overlay, and I do know it's going to go right down in here. So let's go ahead and let's just position that absolute and bring that in front of the overlay. Okay, now it's in front. Now we need to go ahead and stick it to the bottom and go ahead and put left 0 and right 0. Let's see where it goes. Okay. Margin auto. That's good. All right, so it sits halfway between this, in this line. So this line's going to be going halfway through the picture, but I think I have it offset just a little bit in the design. So let's go ahead and open that up and take a look. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom in here. Yeah, so this is sitting just beneath half. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a margin bottom of negative 60 pixels. So it pulls it 60 pixels down. Let's come back over here and refresh this. Perfect. That's exactly where that needs to be. The other thing on here is I'm pretty sure I have a drop shot. Yeah, there's a little shadow on it. So we're going to come back over here and say box shadow is going to be 0 pixels, 3 pixels, 6 pixels, and 0 pixels. And then RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0.25. Save that. Let's come back over here. Refresh. And now it's got that little shadow there. Perfect. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and start working on our navigation. I think. Let me just double check one last thing. Okay, so right here, the avatar we actually have getting a little smaller here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to ignore this for right now. So that's 75 pixels by 75 pixels. So I'm going to come down here and say at media screen and max width. I think 355 pixels should work for that. We're going to do height is 75 pixels and width is 75 pixels. And then I'm also going to adjust the margin bottom to be 60% of 75. So we're going to say margin bottom negative 43 pixels and save that. And I don't think the browser will go small enough, so here let's try it out real quick. Let's go to iPhone 5. Nope. Just a little smaller than that. I don't think I refreshed it. There we go. Okay, so we've got it adjusting right now. It's got a transition on it, so that's good. Now we can go ahead and start working on our navigation. It's nothing too complicated. We have the logo over here, all the nav links over here, and this is all sitting within a 1000 pixel width maximum. So let's open Atom. Let's go ahead and put this in a include. So let's come up here. Let's make a new include. We're gonna name this nav.html. All right. And let's go ahead and just, so there's something here. Navigation. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to come to my index, and I am going to go ahead and include this. So it's going to be curly brace, %, include nav.html, and another %, and close in curly brace. Let's save that. Well, let's come over here and just see if our comment, let's refresh it and look at the code and see if our comment got in there. Navigation right here. So that is working. And close this for now. So in our nav.html, first thing let's do is we're going to add a wrapper for it. So I'm just going to add nav. I'm going to give it a class of nav wrap. Close it. So we're going to go ahead right now and we're going to add the logo. I'm going to make it an anchor tag. And it's going to point to curly brace, site dot base URL. And add a / after that. I'm going to give it a class of nav logo. And we're going to close this off. After that, we're going to add our links. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make an unordered list. We're going to give it a class of navigation. And right now we're going to add some LIs. Let's go ahead and inside these we're going to add an anchor tag. So at the beginning of each of these, we're going to add a curly brace, site.base URL, and /. And then we're going to go ahead and finish writing these paths. This is fine because this is just going to be for the home page. So let's go ahead and write out home. The second link is our case studies. So we're going to go ahead and write case studies. And this is going to be / case studies. That is not how you spell studies. So the reason this is not going to be, even though the page that it's going to is casestudies.html, the reason we are not adding the .html is because back in our config, we went and we added permalink pretty. So like I said before, that goes ahead and gets rid of the .html or whatever extension we'd have on there. So the last one is going to be the blog. So I'm going to go ahead and type in blog here. And after that / we're going to go ahead and just write blog. And that is essentially our navigation at the moment. So let's go ahead and see if that showed up in here. Right here is the links, and we haven't added anything into the logo area yet, so you're not going to see that. So what we're going to have to do right now is we're going to have to bring that in front of the overlay, and we're actually going to make this entire navigation position absolute so we can put it anywhere we need to. So I'm going to come over here to our modules, and we're going to add a new file called nav.sas. We need to include that here, or import it, I should say, in our directory. Make sure everything ran fine. And we're going to select our nav and nav wrap. And we're going to do a few things here. First of all, I'm just going to go ahead and add a transition all 0.3s ease in, and that's going to be for any transition stuff that we're going to add to this later on. Position absolute, and we're going to put it to the top. 0, left 0, and right 0. Now I don't want to take the chance of having something else sit on top of this navigation, so we're going to give it a z-index of like 900. As we saw back here, it's going to have the max width of this is 1000 pixels. So I'm going to go ahead and add that max width 1000 pixels. We're also going to need to display flex so we can push our logo to the left and our navigation all to the right. Display flex, and we need justify content, space between. I don't want to do space around because space around is going to make sure there's space on this side of it and this side of it. We just want there to be space in between the two of these. I'm going to give it margin auto so it sits in the center. And let's see how far off the top this sits. 10, 20, 30, 40 pixels. So I'm going to give it padding of, let's do 40 pixels all around, because when the browser is shrinking, I don't want it to be flush up against the edge. I still want about 40 pixels here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 40 pixels. Let's save that. See what we got over here. So this is sitting over to this side, so that's good. Next thing we're going to do is when the browser shrinks, you'll see that we have the padding reduced here for when we go to a mobile navigation. So we're going to go ahead and say at media, screen, and max width of, let's say, 600 pixels. I'm going to change the padding to that's 20, and then that is still 40 on top. So let's reduce it a little bit though. Let's just say 35 pixels on top and 20 on the sides. And now when we go ahead and shrink this, let's see where 600 pixels is. Nothing, Siri. That was loud. Okay, so yeah, you can see it ever so slightly move right here. I forgot to refresh the page. That's why it wasn't working earlier. So because we added this transition here, we don't have to go ahead and worry about that now. It's already working. The next thing we're going to do is let's look at how large this logo is. So the logo is 50 pixels tall and 90 so wide, but we're going to go ahead and just tell it that it's 50 tall, and we'll let it figure out how wide it is automatically. So in nav.sas, we're going to go down here and type in a nav logo. Pretty sure that's what we named it over here. Yeah. And we're going to give it a height of 50 pixels. And we haven't added it yet, but we're going to put an SVG inside of this anchor tag. So it's going to be SVG height 50 pixels. No, sorry. Not 50 pixels. The height is going to be 100% of its parent container, which is 50 pixels. And then we're going to tell it just to go ahead and figure out your own width. Save that. We also need to go ahead and make this horizontal instead of vertical like it is here. In our nav.sas, let's go ahead and grab our UL. Pretty sure we called it navigation. Yep. We're going to display that flex. I want the flex direction to be row. Justify content center. Align items. Whoops. Align items center. And because the navigation is going to change when it goes to mobile, we're going to go ahead and just make this display none, so we can go ahead and code something else in here as well. So we're going to say at media screen and max width 600 pixels. It's just going to be display none. Let's come over here, refresh that, see. All right, so now it's horizontal, and when we shrink this at 600 pixels, it just disappears, so that's good. The next thing we're going to need to do is add some space in between here, so let's grab our LIs inside of there, display block, and give it padding right of, what is that, about 30 pixels? It looks like it. All right, so now there's some space here. But if we look at this, there's space at the end of this as well, and we don't want this space here. We want this to be straight up to the end. So we're going to come here and we're going to grab our LI and we're going to say last of type, and we are just going to tell that padding right 0, and now that space should just disappear when we refresh, and it's gone. So you see we got space here, and nothing here. It's right up against the edge, so that's perfect. All right, so let's continue styling our text here just a little bit. If you look at the first video we did, you'll know that in every page except this home page, both the logo and the navigation here are white, but because we're sticking with a bright background for the home page, they're dark. So we're going to go ahead and make them appear white first, and then we're going to add an if statement with Jekyll in our nav here, and we're going to make that add a class to be dark when it is on the home page. So for now, let's go to our nav.sass, and for the A tag inside of the LI, we're going to go ahead, that's not an A tag, and we're going to give it a color of the white variable that we set previously. Let's give it a transition all 0.15 seconds. Ease in. Let's make the font size 1M. And then let's go ahead and make it a different color when we hover. So I'm going to take the color and I'm just going to say darken the white variable by 25%. And this is a Sass thing, so it's going to figure out what that color will be automatically for us, so we don't have to go ahead and calculate that and figure that out. But if we come back over here and refresh this, you'll see that you can barely see the text because it's white on a very bright background. But if we hover over it, you'll see it darkens 25% of what it is. Right now, we need to go ahead and add our logo over here. So let's go grab that. Assets. So I have a white SVG right here. Let's go ahead and open this with just open it with brackets so I can just grab the code from it. Okay, well, I don't want that right now. Thanks, though. Alright, we don't need this line of code right here at all. This all looks fine. Except my ID. I don't even think I need 90, so I'm just going to delete this. Alright, now let's copy all of this. Come over to our nav.html, and this is going to sit right inside of this A tag. So we're going to paste it. That is not lined up. That's better. Save it. Let's refresh our page over here. Alright, cool. You can probably barely see it, but it is right here. You'll see the cursor change when I go over it. Alright, let's come over. Well, we're here already. We are going to add, like I had said earlier, an if statement for when we are on the home page to add a class of dark to both the logo and the navigation links. So I'm going to come right after here. And let's see. Right here. And we're going to go ahead and write curly brace %, if page.url space 2 equal signs quote / because that's the path to the home page, end quote. Let's do another %, curly brace, and we are just going to add the class of NavDark, and then now we're going to need to end the if statement, so it's going to be curly brace %, end if %, closing curly brace. Save it, and let's come over here and look at the code real quick. It's going to sit right here. So this should have another class on this when we refresh the page. And there it is, NavDark. So in our Sass, we put that on the A tag. So we're going to say a nav-logo and nav dark we are gonna go ahead and go to the SVG, and we're gonna go to the path here, and we're gonna give the path a fill of our primary. That's not the variable. $, primary, and let's come back over to the page and refresh it. So there we go. That is our primary color. It's not pure black. And we're going to go ahead and do that same thing to our navigation right here. That's what we put it on. Let's go to the end of it. UL navigation nav dark. And let's go to the LI, A, and I'm going to change the color to primary, well, $ primary, so we can use our variable. And that should be fine. Let's save it and refresh it. All right, so now we can go ahead and see, we can see that right there, but this isn't changing its color at all when we hover over it. So we need to add an A, hover, and we're gonna do the same thing we did earlier with the other A tag. We're gonna darken our white variable by 25%. And this is actually going to make it brighter when we hover over it because we're darkening white. We're not darkening our primary. Let's come back here and refresh this. And there you see when we hover over it, it's changing right there. So that's good. That's looking exactly like this is looking like right here. So I think, let's see, should we move down to the blurb or onto the mobile navigation? Let's go to the blurb for now. So let's open our index.html page. And underneath the header, let's add a comment. This is about. Let's give it a div with a class of who is he. And because this is going to send you to the tag with an ID of blurb, we need to go ahead and give this an ID as well of blurb. We have an H1 right here. Well, not an H1, it's just a header. Let's say H2. And we have a paragraph text with a couple of anchor tags in it. Let's say H2. Who is he? Close that. And now we have our paragraph tag. Let's copy all of this. Paste it in here. Don't know what I just hit. Let's paste it again. Okay. So let's go ahead and change this to this so we know it'll work everywhere. That's good for there. Let's go ahead and add our anchor tags though. So let's find the word blog right here. I'm going to say a href And this is going to go to the blog page that we don't have on our website yet, but will be here later. So we're going to go ahead and write curly brace site dot base URL / blog. And I'm not going to give this a class. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to end this A tag. Now the next word that we need to look for is newsletter right here. We're going to add another A tag. And this is also going to point to, this is going to point down to the bottom of the page. Down here where we have the sign up form for the newsletter. So this is just going to be hashtag newsletter, because we're going to give this container the ID of newsletter, so we can just point straight to it. Close this tag here. And then the last one that we're going to do is Twitter right here. Ahref. And if you remember back in the config.yaml, the custom variable that we set right here, where is it? Twitter _ path. We're going to go ahead and use that so we don't have to write out this entire URL. So in our href, we're going to say curly brace site dot Twitter _ path. And that's all we're going to need to do for the href, but we're also going to add a target equal to _ blank, because when they click it, I want it to open in a new window, because I don't want to force them to leave my site. I just don't like the way that feels when I get kicked off of a site that I'm reading things on just so I can look at a social media link or anything like that. So target equals _ blank is going to open it up in a new window. Let's save that. Let's come back to Google Chrome and refresh. And here we've got this beautiful bit of text. Not sure why this entire thing here is an A tag. That's closing the A, that's closing the A, that's closing the A. What's this? This is taking me to the blurb. Not quite sure why it's doing that. What's up, Jackal? Let's try the Twitter. Alright, that takes us right to where we need to go. The blog takes us to the blog page that doesn't exist yet. And this takes us to the newsletter ID. But again, I don't know why this... Why is that taking us there? We must not have closed out an anchor tag somewhere. Let's go to the nav.html and see. That's all closed. Oh. What? No, that's taking us down to there. Okay. So we closed this out with a div. This needs to be A. There we go. Don't know how I managed to do that, but okay. Well, let's go ahead and style all of this. This looks like it sits within a 600 pixel width maximum. And that's just chilling there. All right. Let's go to the index.sass and start a new section. Just going to add a comment. Who is he? So we know what this section is to. We're going to grab the div with the class of who is he, and we're going to give it a max width of 600 pixels. I'm going to want it to sit dead center, as you can see. And this looks like it's going to be 100 pixels beneath the bottom of this picture, but we have to calculate it from the bottom of this. So this is an extra 60 pixels. So I'm going to come here and we are going to go ahead and write margin 160 pixels, auto, 100 pixels on the bottom of it, and an auto on the other side as well. Save it. Let's see what happens here. All right, that's pretty much where that needs to be. When this shrinks, I don't want it to be all the way up against the edge, just like I had said with this. So we are going to go ahead and give it a little bit of padding. So I'm just going to say none on the top and bottom, but 20 pixels on the left and right. Let's come back over here and refresh it, and you'll see that it never actually touches that edge. So inside of our H2, we are going to add this padding here to the bottom. So that's 10 plus 7 is 17. Padding bottom 17 pixels. Let's go for the anchor tags inside of these paragraphs, and we're going to say, we know we want them to be bold, as you can see here, so we're going to give this a font weight of 600. The color is going to be our highlight variable. I'm going to give it a transition of all 0.15s, ease in, out, and I'm just going to say hover, color. We're going to make it our secondary variable. Save that. Let's come over here and take a look at this. So that's looking a little better here. You can see when we hover over it, it kind of goes to that blue-gray color that we had set. what we're not going to do right here is we're not going to style the paragraph text, because that's going to be a global style for anything we add onto this home page. So let's see here. Where should we put this in our base and our style? Yeah, okay. So for our H2, let's see what we need here. It's 30 pixels, so let's convert that to M's. So let's say, I don't know where I just typed that in at. 30 divided by 16. And that's gonna give us nothing, apparently. Let's just calculate this on my phone, because I don't feel like doing it in my head, because I'm lazy right now. 30 divided by 16, that's going to give us 1.875. So H2 is going to be font size 1.875. The font weight, let's just go ahead and give it about 500 to start with. The line height, I know I'm going to want it to be 1.2 M's. And the opacity, we're actually going to tone back just a little bit. So it's going to be 0.85. So it's at 85% opacity. That's looking much better. And now we're going to need to go ahead and style the paragraph tag. Let's add the P. Let's see, font size 1M. Font weight, that can be 200, I think. Yeah, that should be fine. And we're going to give it the color of secondary variable. I think. Oh yeah, we want it to be, is that double spaced or a little more than double spaced? It's a little more than double spaced. So let's say line height 2.5 M. Oh yeah, that's looking much better. Looks pretty much the same as this. I mean, I'm happy with that. What else should we do? Well, we just got that all done. That was pretty good. It looks like we're coming up on that hour, so I'm gonna call it right here. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. I'm getting pretty hungry. I'm going to go get some lunch in just a second here. We got to where I wanted to in the previous video. We added the navigation and the blurb with all of its links to the blog, the newsletter, and the Twitter. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and start working on our mobile navigation. But until then, go ahead, subscribe, like the video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll see you in the next one.